Hello, and today we'll continue with Conway. So we're about to make a choice as to how James will spend his evening. So how you spend the evening? You hear the familiar sound of a fife and go to the fife lesson Julian must be holding for, Wolf, even if for nothing else than to make sure they won't be at each other's throats. I think we should stay on here with Wolf and Julian. I think in another route we can go with like with Samuel. Eventually we go with Samuel. We can make this choice to go with Gia, but we're focused on Wolf right now. He's the character we're focusing on. So whatever choice that Wolf is involved in, we'll just go pick that. From the comfort of your hammock, you watch the wooden planks or the ceiling sway above you. The sound of the waves lapping against the ship's hull provides a soothing soundtrack to your second evening at sea. The aching of your muscles, a constant reminder of what even a day's work here asks of you. Not to mention that you still haven't found a good rhythm to get enough sleep. In a few hours, you'll be summoned again, and somehow you just can't imagine, you just can't manage to close your eyes. Even after everything today, you feel as awake as if it's the middle of the day. You toss and turn in the hammock for a while before you catch a distant but familiar sound, your ears perking up instinctively in the direction of the sound. The sound of someone playing the fife did you did encourage Wolf that he should take the fife lessons, but he'd never actually do it, would he? Maybe Julian asked nicely enough to be allowed to play again, or maybe someone else on board brought one along. Only one way to find out. Sleep appears to be a far quiet anyway, so you feel you might as well spend your time doing something instead of just rolling around in your hammock trying to sleep. Your paws land softly on the wood as you roll out of the hammock and begin your search for the source of it. It grows louder as you make your way to the stairs leading up to the outside deck, the warm evening sun streaming through the opening as you make your way out onto the deck. The sun hangs low enough that you have to seal your eyes as you step out and scan the deck. Towards the bow of the ship, you spot the small group and begin to make your way towards them. But it is not just Julian and Wolf who you find. There's a third person sitting with them as well. It was difficult to make them out as they were hidden by the foremast. But as you got closer, you saw that Bandau had joined them. He is the first to notice you as you approach, looking up to greet you with a welcoming smile and tilts his head to the side so that his ears bob up and down gently. Hey, James, do you want to join us? Both Julian and Wolf look up at you when they realize you're there. That was the plan. If everyone's alright with me around, get no complaint from him and wait a moment to see if anyone else has anything against your presence before sitting down with them. It does leave you feeling a little unprepared when you see Julian and Wolf sitting on a crate they must have brought down from below. Even Bandau has found a place to sit on the five rails of the foremast. Oh well, the floor will do for you. How are they doing? Have they been at each other's throats yet? Nothing yet. Why? Should they be? Oh, they can't stand each other. You went ahead and asked in the end, Wolf. Apparently, you are not to be graced by an answer from him. Where have you been? I would have told you if I'd known you were interested. I just jumped out of my hammock. Couldn't sleep and heard you playing just now. At least I'm assuming it was you, unless you're the world's greatest teacher and you've already got Wolf to play a treat for us. What do you mean, unless? I'll get Wolf to play this baby in no time, you'll see. Don't call it a baby. Something about that doesn't sit right with me. Instead of talking about what a great teacher you are, you could just get on with it, Jules. Jules hands, Julian hands the instrument back to Wolf, who immediately makes sure to wipe off any spit that might have stuck to it. Says, I guess you just go ahead and play whatever you can play, so that I can see what, so that I can see you. Just, I guess you just go ahead and play whatever you can play, so that I can see what you already know. The canine takes a fife and lays it to his hips, looking over at Julian with a hint of uncertainty. But instead of trying to play, he lowers the instrument again. Can I just say that I know nothing instead of making a fool of myself in front of them? The person I got from never actually managed to sit down with me, and, well, I tried, but I can't even get a proper sound out of it. Hey, that makes two of us, mate. Three, you're in good company. Well, that's easy then. Let's start right from the beginning. First, put her to her lips, like I did before. Julian watches as Wolf raises the instrument again and reaches over to adjust Wolf's grip and positioning of the fife until he is happy with how the canine is holding it. Just like that. Remember how you're holding it right now. Now, and I know this may be an impossible task to ask of you, but pull your lips back like a smile. You know, the thing you do when you're Wolf's gaze sharpens. Julian, have you ever seen him smile? Fine, I'm sorry. He's still, he's still kind of, he's still Julian being Julian. Well, just kind of get on people's nerves. Corners of your lips back and are pressed together more sharply at the front. Several times at your misfortune, yes? Wolf tries his best to follow the instructions, moving his lips until Julian blurts out his approval. Both you and Bandau watch closely, and Bandau even goes ahead and tries to mimic Julian's directions himself. It looks a bit silly, but do you try to follow along with the instructions too? Yes, follow this. If both Bandau and Wolf are following along, why not you too? You try to pull your lips back as described until you hope you look at the until you hope you look about the same as the others. Like that, yes, yes. And now, just try to blow air through it. Probably a bit easier for Wolf to not. Well, probably a bit easier for Wolf to tell if he's doing it right than for you to, given that he'll just. A rather awkward, misshapen tone of the fife fills the air as Wolf attempts his first note, clearly sounding like he doesn't quite have the hang of it yet. Try it a bit more relaxed. Wolf attempts it once again, although it also just sounds like the tone from before. More relaxed? Sorry, I've never tried to teach this before. Alright, well, let's see. Wolf replies, trying not to give up the position of his lips, almost causes you to lose your composure. Or take the fife away for a moment and blow again. The lizard moves his hands around in front of Wolf until he can feel the cold stream of air snapping his fingers, and as he apparently has a new idea of what might be causing the mistaken sound. Why, I think you are aiming too high. Try angling it so that you're blowing a little bit more downward instead. Go and try it again with a fife. You test it yourself by putting your own paw in front of you and moving the airflow up and down your hand. Wolf brings the fife to his lips once more for another attempt, but just as before, without a whole lot of success. Now, down. Wolf stops his attempt and raises his chops into a snarl. I'm trying, shut up. Several more attempts follow, but each one fails to produce a correct sound. The visible frustration on his face increases with every try. No, not like that. Don't move your head. Maybe try without the fife. Just feel with your hand where you're blowing. That way the other two can have a go as well. Wolf makes one last frustrated attempt before serving the fife to the rabbit sitting opposite of him. Fucking hell, lizard. Down. No, down. I'm trying. It's not working. Because you're not doing it right. If you did, it would work. Maybe if you explain it better, relax down, what am I supposed to do with that? Follow the instructions, duh. It's a direction. How much clearer do you want me to be? Dear Lord, I didn't realize you were the. Calm down, you two. The moment is disarmed by the high pitched tone of the five before either of them can bark out another word at the other. All eyes immediately turn to Bandau, who, without much effort, manages to produce a clean tone at the first attempt. He looks just as startled as the rest of you, his eyes wide open as you all stare at him, his expression melting into a smile. Hireable, not bad, eh? Not bad. You got it on the first try. Do it again. Bandau does just as he is encouraged to do, and repeats his performance once again with success, although the tone does crumble at the end when he trails off. You're sure you have never done this before? He shakes his head, sending his ears weaving from left to right. Never. Here, you give it a try, James. Next in line to be handed the five, and after Bandau's immediate success, you can feel the pressure building in your chest. You feel your eyes on you, you feel their eyes on you as you take the metal instrument and bring it to your lips, warm to the touch by now from everyone else. You adjusted your shoulders or your lips until you feel like you've got everything in the right position. Your first attempt goes about as badly as expected, and all you produce is the sound of a wet whistle. Press your lips together more firmly. Not much, just a little. He demonstrates on the spot, with two sharp puffs of air in quick succession, and you inhale deeply for another try. It sounds better, but it's not quite there yet. Julian encourages you to keep going, looking for just the right position to guide the air. You feel the tone tilting until it suddenly falls into place in the same firm high note that Bandil hit before resonates from the instrument. There you go. See, not that difficult, is it? It's not that bad, no. Well, it's very nice that it comes so easily to you all. Come on, Wolf. You're only one step away from getting it yourself. You encourage him warmly and reach over to him and reach over to hand him the fight once more. The canine hesitates for a moment before taking the fife again, black fingers wrapping around it as he cradles it in his lap. You can see it in him just how badly he just wants it. He just wants to give up and leave. He always does. If anything, it's a miracle it's gone on for this long. But to your surprise, he lifts the fife up again and gives it another shot. And this time, try to aim it a bit low. I heard you the first time. Wolf snaps back at Julian, who raises his hand in defense. A deep breath fills Wolf's chest and he tries again. Just like before, however, it only produces the same limp wheeze of air. Anticipating that Wolf would want to stop immediately, Julian swiftly signals with his hand for him to continue while leaning in close to him to reach under his jaw. You notice a surprise in Wolf's eyes, but he continues as Julian wants him to. Julian carefully brings his finger to Wolf's lower lip and presses against it with tender precision, causing Wolf to stop immediately. Keep going. Where are you? Just keep going. Slowly, Wolf takes another breath and tries again, continuing as Julian gently presses his lower lip to correct his position. Gradually, the tone from the instrument changes from a weak flutter of air to a note as pure as the instrument intends it to be. Julian's finger lingers on the canine's lip for a moment before sliding away, leaving him to play the note himself. His ears perk slowly up as realization comes to him that he's doing it all by himself without Julian's help. You can't help but smile yourself, and Bandau even goes so far as to clap at Wolf's success. Julian spreads his arms at his sides with a broad smile, praising Wolf as his efforts finally pay off. Hey, there you go. See? You got it. Easy. As you watch him, though, you see the unusual softness of his expression fade and a fleeting moment of uncertainty before he looks down at the instrument. Well done, man. Going to be playing the first piece in no time. Aye. That's enough for me. What? I said that's enough for me. You can keep going. Just put it back with my belongings later. But you just did it once. It would probably be good to see you do it a few more times and help you. He lays the fife in your lap and stands up from his crate before leaving the three of you to watch him. But you just did it once. It would probably be good to see you do it a few more times and help you. He lays the fife in your lap and stands up from his crate, leaving the three of you to watch him walk off and down the stairs into the cell. What did I do now? He stares at you in utter confusion and pivots to Bandau when he realizes that you have no more answer to that than he does. I don't know. Did you do something? What? No. All I did was help guide him to get a tone out of it. Nothing more, I swear. And he was doing well, too. He ended up with the nicest tone of all of us. Yeah, he did great. You pick up the fife in your lap and roll it between your fingers as you turn to look at the back of the deck where he had gone. What do you do? Go after him. I'm not sure this will work as a music lesson when the one student you had is gone. I have you too. I don't think either of us are here to actually learn it. Not like Wolf anyway. It wasn't what I expected from him, but you two know him better. I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. I'm going to know him since the three of us arrived yesterday. Well, I guess I will go after him and give him his fight back. Doesn't sound like we'll be practicing months on our own. Your search for him takes you below deck, where your first instinct to check his hammock turns out to be the right one, and you find him resting in it with his elbow draped over his eyes. What is it now? He speaks without lifting his arm aside to even look at you. What do you mean? What is it now? You asked Julian to teach you how to play your instrument, and then you just up and left in the middle of it. What do you expect me to do? For you to put the damn thing down my back and walk away? Is what I expect you to. For you to put the damn thing down my back and walk away is what I expect you to do. But knowing you, you probably here to play the helpful cat and talk about it. Well, that's what I was hoping to do, but I can't exactly force you to sit down with me. If you ever want to though, you can always come by. He bent down and carefully tucked the fife into his simple linen bag, making sure that it won't fall out by accident. The brief glimpse you get of its contents reveals about what you expected. Clothes. Nothing else. You grant him his desired silence and leave, making your way over to your own hammock to try and get some rest yourself. Friday, 17th of June. Cold water comes crashing over you in an instant. The force of it pulls you down. Deeper, deeper. The surface of the sea disappears, leaving but a pitch black, oppressive oblivion. The water forces you to gasp, sought the world returning in a flash as you force your eyes open. You scramble. Your back bumps into something, joints and beginning to shiver as the wind chills your body. The salt water stings your eyes, nose, and even your sensitive ears are not spared the irritation. The sun hasn't even made it above the horizon yet, leaving the person in front of you as nothing but a silhouette. Fuck. You get Wolf's low, guttural snarl, almost reverberating through your eyes, or through your ears. You feel the primal chill of your fur standing on end, or at least you get Wolf's low, guttural snarl almost reverberating through your ears. You feel the primal chill of your fur standing on end, or at least as well as it can after after just having been drenched with water. Get up. You don't think. You act on instinct, rising from the sodden ground as fast as your sleep-ridden body allows, simply following the orders barked at you. Wolf doesn't wait for you to come to your senses and rushes towards the bell. Seconds later, its piercing chime fills the air. All hands on deck now. It's strange to hear Wolf actually raise his voice. He never shouted. Even when he was pissed off, at most, whoever was the target of his ire would get snarled words, dripping thee with threats of violence. When you hear his urgency, it feels so out of place that you realize something must be amiss. There's not a moment's hesitation when the call comes, and one by one the crewmen make their way from the deck below into the open. You see Arthur make his way over to speak to Wolf before the canine hurries back to you. What's going on? You were asleep. Hi. Yes, and you couldn't have woken me up more gently? Want me to serve you breakfast too? Why do you call all hands on deck? Are you even allowed to do that? Another snarl comes as he grips your arm tightly and turns you to face the bow of the ship, pointing off into the distance with a claw finger. Beyond the beyond the tip of his claw, you see it. Cloud. Not just any, but a thundercloud. It catches you putting the pieces together. Yeah. Shit, I was on a weather watch. Give us a call what you were doing, a weather watch. As he speaks, you hear Arthur shout a command to coordinate the crew. All hands hoy. Lads, it's time to earn your pay. Get your hands on the braces, ease the seats, and close reef the whales. Topmen to the main top gallants. Rest of you to the main upper topsoil. As the crew springs into action, not a single breath is wasted. They scale the shrouds with practiced efficiency to carry out the orders. We'll waste no time either, leaving you on the deck to ascend alongside the others. They all turn into dark silhouettes dimly outlined against the twilight sky. You know you blundered, and you know Arthur will not be happy about it. Yet despite the consequences, you do step up to face him. I sincerely apologize, sir. I should have reported the cloud earlier. I do not care right now. What I do, however, care about is the question of why you aren't up there with the others yet. Don't tell me that not only have you lost your sight, but you're here along with it. You hear? Well, you know him. You know him well enough and are smart enough not to open your muzzle again and let your actions speak instead. Without hesitation, you dart past the ship's boats and onto the shrouds. The more seasoned sailors outpace you, but in the few days you have been here, you've gained some degree of confidence in your movements. As you ascend along with the others, the thin rat lines catch between the pads of your paws. The wind tugs at your fur more and more the higher you go, and your feline vision can just about make out the wide, dark pillar of rain away to the top. The wind tugs at your fur more and more the higher you go, and your feline vision can just about make out the wide, dark pillar of rain awaiting the ship. The telltale sound of the ship luffing reaches your ears even before you arrive. The others are already in the process of loosening and preparing to hoist it. You climb onto the main top and continue your journey up until you reach the upper topsail. Although you are not afraid of heights, you try not to look down while carefully taking your position on the upper topsail yard. Wolf is looking on the yard, and you slip in line yourself, joining the group of sailors right next to him. I didn't mean to fall asleep. He didn't answer, concentrating on loosening the sail. His silence stretches for nearly half a minute. But you did. Doesn't matter if you meant it or not. I know. The air is filled with the sound of Samuel's call, a coordinated pull. You join the others hoisting the sail. If only he wouldn't be on my ass all day, then I wouldn't be so worn out. I've hardly slept the last few days, as if it isn't hard enough to get used to the schedule, but then I have him breathing down my neck, where every single part of mine is scrutinized. You feel the urge to vent, your frustrations simmer, longing to hurl something into the dark sea below, to pump something, anything to let off the steam that has been building for the past week in change. But the weight of the sail denies you that pleasure as it sits heavy in your arms and you strain to haul it up to the second reef line. And what am I supposed to do? Nothing. Nothing, Wolf. I'm just annoyed with myself. I guess I'm starting to understand why you prefer to have a quiet day once in a while. Suddenly, the first mate's bellow echoes up the mast from below. I didn't realize this ship had cruel cabin boys who can't reef a sail. You better start making some progress before I put those supple hands of yours to work on the nearest street corner once we reach port. You heard the man. Show some pride and put your backs into it. You heard Samuel shout and return a quick eye, together with the rest of the crew working the sail. The arms are starting to seriously hurt, but you are so close to getting the sail where it needs to be. Quiet days do have their perks. Now you finally understand this can only be a good thing. If you're so wise, do you have any more wisdom to share about dealing with Arthur? I don't know what to do anymore, Wolf. And you never seem to have any trouble with him. His eyes meet yours briefly before he looks off to the horizon. Because I do my best to keep it that way. I avoid making mistakes, sure, but I don't try to impress either. Unlike you, I don't dream of becoming a great sailor or whatever romantic ideals you're chasing. They pay me. I do what they ask of me. No more, no less. Maybe try not wanting to be the mate's lapdog cat. Despite his words, there's no trace of contempt in his tone. He seems to try to offer you a genuine recommendation. It may be a tad late for that. What with me having had a target on my back since he's been aiming at since I stepped on this ship. You're not the first young man driven by the desire to be some kind of golden boy to his superiors, to chase the accolades they hand you like breadcrumbs. He exhales sharply and turns to face you again. All they'll do is crush you along the way, or do you honestly think the mate's ever going to reward you for your efforts to impress him? You're useful for him. That's all you are. The whipping boy for our distinguished gentlemen. Your only purpose is to take their blame so they can appear spotless in front of their ilk. This time he adds the flair of a bitter snort at the end of his sentence. All right, old man. Clearly, I'm asking the wrong person for help here. Wolf secures his part of the sail, then leans over to assist you. Together you pull the last bit of rope, ensuring the sail is taut and secure. Once it is secured, the members of your watch start to make their way down the shrouds again. You follow close behind. The shrouds become crowded as the topmen receive their call to repeat the process for both the fore and mizzen mast. The wind picks up with each passing minute, and the dark thunderhead cloud simmers faintly with the pale blue of the sky as the sun edges ever closer to the horizon. What was once a faint cloud on the horizon now towers in front of the ship, urging the crew into double-time efforts. You hurry toward the ship's bow, waiting for your chance to grasp the shrouds. As you begin your climb of the foremast, you feel the first drops of rain spatter against your snout. Once the yard is lowered and everyone is in position, Cheryl takes the reins again, raising his voice to coordinate the team's efforts. All right, boys, let's see what you got. Otherwise, I will tell the cook that you won't be needing those meat rations in the future. On my command, reef sail. You start your effort on the dot along with the rest and start pulling in the heavy sail. Inch by inch, pound by pound, progress is made as the elements slowly begin to grow more intense around you. Your tail, which you use to aid your balance up here, grows heavy as it soaks up the rain. So does your clothes, and as they cling wetly to your body, and worst of all, so does the sail itself. The last thing you need while the ship unrelentingly continues on its course. You catch your breath in silence next to Wolf, joining the effort to pull in the sail bit by slow bit. It gives you space to think about what he said and question yourself and the reasons that brought you here. Not for long, though, for a voice draws your attention. Yo, the jackal leans over the yard, nudging your arm gently to get you to turn around. It is Perce, a sailor who recently rejoined the crew after being out for a while with what he said was a rather nasty infection. I couldn't help but overhear. You have problems with Arthur, right? It takes a moment for things to click into place, and it clicked. It takes a moment for things to click into place, and for you to reply. You could say that. Small tip from one sailor to another, but you should consider. How can I put it? Grease the wheels. I'm not quite sure I follow. Bribery. He's talking about bribing the mate. The corners of Perce's lips twitch in a subtle smile. He's got it. Arthur's got a bit of taste for a good drink, you know? And there's been many a problem which was smoothed over by wetting the old man's throat. 2 months of a liking, I've heard, but you wouldn't know that from me. Mind you, I wouldn't recommend making a habit of it. The last thing you want to be is a guy who always shows up knocking on his cabin with something under his arm, you know? Others will start asking questions and lacking any good answers. They'll make up their own reasons. You don't want to be the one who's brown. You don't want to be the one who's brown nosing the gentleman. So what? I should just walk up to him with a bottle of rum and say, "Hey, how about we forget all this shouting at me for everything business?" What? Gods, have your fairy taught you nothing? The hare like to play a game of deniability. You have to play along, act friendly, like you're just there to show your appreciation for them. You can save face and say you are only grateful towards your betters. You just happen to get better treatment afterwards. Right, subtle. Got it. Perce nods to Wolf with a knowing smile. Told you he gets it. You lean against the yard, arms crossed, catching your breath. But I'm a sailor like everyone else. How am I supposed to get my paws on it if it's all rationed out? I don't know if you two have looked around lately, but a visit to the nearest alehouse isn't in the cards. Get creative. Make friends who might be able to arrange it. Bandow's not one to give out more than he's allowed to, but if you're in his good graces, he might let yours accumulate if you practice abstinence. Or if that's not your style, just gamble or barter. I know that a lot of the crew have their own little stats for desperate times, and I'm sure some would be willing to part with it for the right offer. You wouldn't happen to include yourself in that, would you? He laughs for a moment and gestures for you to continue your task. Ha, quick one, aren't you? Not officially, no. And would you be willing to part with some of your non-existent fallback? Now that I consider bribing the first mate, of course, but it's good to know the crew's customs, and if you say that sometimes giving someone a gift is a good way to start over, who am I to break tradition? You immediately feel awkward having laid it on a you immediately feel awkward having laid it on so thick, but Purse doesn't appear to mind. His smile remains. You immediately feel awkward having laid it on so thick, but Purse doesn't appear to mind, and his smile remains. Naturally. If you really want, we can talk about it later, when we're dry and my hand isn't killing me anymore. Some time passes before you secure the sail in its close reefed position, as before he assists you by holding you and the sail steady against the heeling motion of the ship. And the assistance was thoroughly needed by this point. The wind and rain intensify as the ship now continues to navigate under the thick clouds, gone on the sunny days and fair winds. Instead, just a few days in, and you are battling the forces of nature. As you begin to realize the limits of your abilities as you struggle to secure the sail, even with the help of Wolf and Purse. When you're done, the yard is decorated with a few claw marks of yours etched into it for posterity, although by the looks of it, they are in good company. Purse descends with the rest of the crew, but he chooses to wait until the bulk of the crew had descended and the shrouds are less crowded. Conveniently, it grants you a moment to catch your breath leaning across the yard. Are you coming? The canine asks, having just grabbed the shrouds to descend himself. In a moment, you can go ahead. You look down the deck of the ship looking frighteningly small from this height. Fortunately, vertigo is not something you have to deal with. But the building top of the sea, the utter darkness of it right now, well, right below you, while the heel of the ship causes the mast to hang off to the side. One wrong move. You make sure you hold on to the yard a little tighter. You make sure to hold on to the yard a little tighter. Sure enough, the last sailor makes it past you from the outer edge of the yard. You help you help each of them along by pulling in your tail whenever they pass you. You follow them carefully, well aware of how slippery the ropes are becoming. The utter darkness of it, right below you, while the heel of the ship causes the mast to hang off to the side. One wrong move. You make sure you hold on to the yard a little tighter. Soon enough, the last sailor makes it past you from the outer edge of the yard. You help each of them along by pulling in your tail whenever they pass you. You follow them carefully, well aware of how slippery the ropes are becoming. With your paws back on deck, you hurry along the length of the ship back to the mizzen mast and grab onto the shrouds. Even the deck is becoming treacherous for you, the wet surface leaning off to the side and the swell of the waves rocking the ship strongly enough to threaten your balance. Going up is quickly becoming dangerous in these conditions, especially for you as someone who doesn't have the wealth of experience of the other sailors. You hesitate and watch the others at first, wondering if you should follow them or not. You climb up and help them. You firm up your grip on the lines, ready to ascend after the other members of the crew. You cause this mess. It's only right that you help them right now. Or how will you look when they return, and you are the one who sat out the worst of it? You can already imagine the looks you'd be getting. With a pull of both your arms, and you swing your left leg onto the gunwale, and just then a voice interrupts you. You're going where exactly? Arthur doesn't address you by name, but since you've been the target of his ire so often in the past few days, you immediately snap in his direction. Going to reef the sails as ordered, sir. He shakes his head and approaches the gunwale, laying his palm on it. You will stay. The conditions are getting too treacherous. But sir, I don't want to be the one who both caused this mess and then sits idly by while the others clean it up. Besides, but sir, I don't want to be the one who caused But sir, I don't want to be the one who both caused this mess and then sits idly by while others clean it up. Besides, I'm one of the crew of the ship just like them. I shouldn't be exempt from the jobs they're doing. Isn't that what you want? For me to prove myself? To prove that I am cut out for this and not just someone who screws up everything I lay my hands on? He considers your case in a lingering silence, raindrops pelting his head as he looks at you. Your case does not appear to convince him, however, and he gives a quick nod back down to the deck of the ship. Get back down. That is an order. You cling to the shrouds for a moment longer before obeying his command, guiding your paws back to the firm wooden deck. I could have done it, sir. Quiet. I've seen enough of you up there to know that I'm not willing to risk it. Recruit. Not just risking you, but potentially endangering whoever will have to help you if things go awry. Stupidity may have been the way you impress your friends back home, but it doesn't hold water on the ship, boy. To add insult to injury, you notice that both Julian and Wolf are up there with the rest, but now bathed in the first rays of faint purple and orange as the sun creeps over the horizon. You notice his eyes find you even though he keeps facing up the mast. Yes. I want to apologize. I messed up. Only now does he turn to face you fully. That you did. I was tired and exhausted and frustrated and just... You falter and struggle to find the right words. It's all just frustrating. Frustration that you wish Arthur would just get. That he would simply understand and consider your point of view of the situation for even just one moment. There's no excuse for it. He responds firmly, the intensity returning to his eyes as he listens to your excuses. You had your duties, you didn't see them through. It is not even that you simply did not fulfill them to complete satisfaction. Now you completely disregard them. You completely disregarded my orders. The good of the ship. The lives of the crew. Not only for mine, but for your own sake. I hope that nothing happens. It is not a burden even you should be forced to carry. He reaches for the cuff of his jacket, now so wet that it sticks to his wrist, and undoes one of the buttons to loosen it. Before he addresses you again, he raises his voice and shouts a command to the crew, working on the mizzen mast, lowering his voice again afterward. Mr. Kelly. Yes, sir. Do you know where our next port of call will be? Mogador and Morocco, sir. Why? He looks down and turns to you. Do you know much about Morocco, Mr. Kelly? I do not. A country rather unlike the one you grew up in. Some of our crew call it home. A rather beautiful country, if I may say so. I'm not sure I follow, sir. I was your age once, a young landsman trying to make an impression. For a moment, it almost seems as if he's opening up to you. His voice softens as he begins to reminisce, but after only a moment or two, you notice a subtle twist in his features, and just like that, the usual firmness returns. I've made mistakes too, but there's a stark difference between a young recruit trying to learn the ropes and someone like you. Someone who, for whatever reason, always finds himself in the middle of trouble. He crosses his arms, one finger drumming a steady rhythm against the bulk of his other forearm. I've been keeping an eye on you. Not only by myself, but I've asked the crew how you're performing as well. What they might observe you doing your days. You seize a moment left by a pause of his hand. Not only by myself, but I've asked the crew how you're performing as well. What they might observe you doing during these days. You seize a moment left by a pause of his and let your own words step in. Sir, with all due respect, but that is exactly why I've been struggling. I've been run ragged by. You lean in to defend yourself, but are immediately ignored by Arthur as he dismisses you with a simple closing of his eyes. You've been given every opportunity. No, you've been given more than that. But today you crossed the line, boy. I can no longer allow you to endanger the rest of my crew. I will make the necessary arrangement with the captain, and as soon as we reach Morocco, you will be let go. Your eyes widen at his words, and the whole in the wide open sea fills. Your eyes widen at his words, and the wide open sea feels as if it contracts around you. For several seconds, there is nothing but the indistinct noise that is the pouring rain, the wind, and the churn. Your eyes widen at his words, and the wide open sea feels as if it contracts around you. For several seconds, there's nothing but the indistinct noise that is the pouring rain, the wind, and the churn of the sea. He seems to gauge your reaction for a moment before turning his gaze back up to the rest of the crew. What? The port is well connected to your homeland. Within a month you should find passage to a port near your home. You can't be serious. Do I look like I'm in the mood for jokes? He does not. The firm features are now appearing thoroughly soaked like yourself. The rainwater clings to his hair and tail, transforming them from their usual wind-blown lightness to bedraggled disarray. You can't seriously be thinking of just leaving me in some godforsaken harbor. Fueled by desperation, you step forward and seize him by the cuff of his jacket to try to get his attention. It's not a good idea. Listen to me, damn it! Your grip tightens and you feel the fabric strain between your fingers. All this time I've been scrutinized like some petty criminal. He gives you desired attention, however at the cost of pulling his cuff from your grasp. You blame me for everything. The crane incident, Samuel's mishap, spilled food, illnesses, damaged planks. You animatedly count the litany of perceived offenses on your fingers. How is anyone supposed to work under these circumstances when every single move I make is questioned? Everyone on this ship tells me what a great first mate you are, but I've yet to see why. All I have seen is someone who, for whatever reason, cannot see even a shred of reason. I'm supposed to become an able sailor? That's what I've been told. Be a good sailor. That's what he wants. And that's exactly what I've been striving for. I've been up for every watch of mine since day one, assisted others whenever asked, learned the ropes as fast as I can, all while under the constant threat of punishment for the slightest mishap. What do you want? Tell me. What the hell do I have to do, sir? If there's anything that can change my mind, you have about 2 more days to figure it out, I reckon. If you'll excuse me, I must report to the captain. He shouts one last set of instructions up into the mast to keep the crew busy in his absence before he turns away from you and leaves you alone on the windswept deck. You look as he, just as everyone else, grapples with the heel and motion of the ship, his silhouette blurred by the rain. And just like that, that's all you're left with. Morocco. And the end of your journey. Okay, so we're gonna stop right here. So, yes, looks like, James is gonna get kicked off the ship once it reaches Morocco. So, yeah, he really snapped at Arthur right there. Apparently he felt he didn't have anything to lose now, since Arthur made his assistant to kick him off in Morocco. So he vented everything about his experience so far and how Arthur scrutinizes him for every minor mishap and just, I mean, apparently this whole sailor thing hasn't been going the way he thought it would go. It just hasn't really turned out to be what he wanted it to be. Or, well, not necessarily what he wanted it to be, but like what he hoped it would be. Like, apparently it's way harder than what he thought it would be. He felt that by taking orders and helping everybody out, that would make him a sailor. But apparently, even that does not satisfy Arthur, though. I don't know. Maybe Arthur has some kind of a point, but he didn't really explain it. That's why he was so critical with James. I mean, maybe he does have a point, but he hasn't really explained it that much. But no, he did. I mean, James, he did kind of screwed up about the whole, keeping a watch for the weather. I mean, he did screw up. He overslept. So I'm not going to defend James or everything, but I think other than that, he's been rather helpful. And I think he's been doing his part on the ship. Though I think he would need to manage the schedule more, so something like that wouldn't happen again. Where they're in a storm, so I wonder what's gonna happen. He did say that James had 2 more days to change his mind. So is there opportunity for James to impress Arthur? In my opinion, probably not. It seems though Arthur for a brief moment was more well, maybe not sympathetic, but he was trying to make the case for why Morocco would be. He's trying to make a case for why Morocco is a good country, why it's not a bad place for James to be dropped off at. Since that is a beautiful country and some of the sailors call it home, and so he did try to at least alleviate James' concerns about being in Morocco, but we gotta see a brief hint of soft side of him, but yeah, but that wasn't long. The tough, rigid side of him came back. So what Wolf said about Arthur, in my opinion, I think it was very sound advice that James should have taken, but he kind of scoffed at Wolf, calling him old man. I don't think being in your mid-30s is necessarily old, but I guess for him, who is, I don't know, 18 or 20, that's old for him. But anyway, basically what Wolf told James is that James is a tool. He's a tool to be used when things go bad. So that way, the sailors can blame him. They put all the blame on him, and they feel like they did their parts. Like you're just a tool for the captain and for the sailors. And that's probably what James is. Just a tool for the captain to blame when things go bad. And kind of like somebody that the more experienced sailors can use as a shield. If they themselves might mess up, they can blame him. And that what Wolf said is the same philosophy I've been told on a job when I was new, on some jobs, that basically that nobody heals your friend, and that you should focus on doing your job, take orders, and just do your job. Don't disobey your boss. Do what your boss tells you, and don't go over beyond to impress your boss. Okay, you don't need to impress your boss because your boss not your friend, he's not your pal. So Wolf told James is what people have told me throughout the jobs. Well, throughout all the jobs I've had when especially when I was new to those jobs. The advice people who worked there for a while gave me: just do your job, do everything to the best of your ability, and don't try to please or impress your bosses, because that's all they are, your boss. They're not your friend, your family, your pal, anything. And he's not. What Wolf also says that he wasn't in this to be this good sailor, this fancy, or the whole this fancy view of what a sailor is. Like, he wasn't trying to be this also good, extremely excellent sailor. He was just there to do his best and to get paid. Okay, so apparently even Wolf said himself that James is that Arthur himself doesn't have any problem with him because he does his job. He does everything that he's told, and apparently, I guess James hasn't been doing his job. So again, that was before when he messed up with the whole weather situation. He was supposed to look out for the weather. He overslept. So I guess the captain sensed that Arthur, well, not Arthur, but Arthur, yeah. I mean, I guess Arthur kind of sensed that James, he might have looked at James and felt that this guy wasn't going to fit in. He was going to screw up. I guess James's mannerisms and the way he spoke and kind of how he missed some basic information about the ship made Arthur pay attention to him, and that made Arthur skeptical of James. That's what I'm thinking. Because it seems as though James is not the most confident. It seems like he's trying a little too hard to impress people in the ship. I think he should focus more on doing his job and not trying to impress people too hard. I mean, you do kind of have to impress people, but not at the rate of what James is doing. I mean, I think it's just do what he's told and don't try to push him with more questions of anything I can do for you. And if they don't say if they don't outright talk about, kind of pause the video because somebody was revving their car up and the ambulance going past also. Noisy era, man. But anyway, I just think that James should just focus on doing his job and be a little bit more confident in himself and not try to seek validation all the time. Just do your part and don't try to over please people, like saying, "Cat, is there anything else I can do, sir?" I mean, I think unless they outright tell you to do something else, I don't think you should mention anything about doing anything else. Because that sailor who took him to Regia, I guess he's kind of like a rabbit. When James inquired him about what he could do and all this stuff, it kind of just annoyed the rabbit. So I think it's just I think James should just work on being silent. just not talk so much. Alright, so we're gonna see what happens. Will he be allowed to stay on the Conway, or will he get dropped off in Morocco? If that happens with him getting dropped off in Morocco, what he's gonna do? Try to get back home? Stay in Morocco, or perhaps maybe he could try to work on another ship. So we'll just have to see what happens next time. So thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.